Hello everyone, my name is Naomi, aka Nifty Nomi, and welcome to my channel, Be That Business. I'm a Canadian bookkeeper and a new business educator, and I help entrepreneurs look under the hood to see how it all works. I'm fighting the good fight against double work and against giving CRA more money than you have to. I've been putting out useful and interesting newsletters twice a month on the 14th and 29th. If you prefer to read your newsletters, check out my sign-up link in the comments below. And there's also a link to a transcript of today's newsletter. On to today's newsletter. My 3 favorite resources for February. Here are 3 fabulous resources that I've come across in February. Resource number 1. Wealth Simple Tax. Well, I didn't come across this February. I have been using this for a few years now. Spring, the season we start to get ready to file our personal income taxes. There are a lot of options out there to get your income taxes filed, either DIY or by a professional income tax provider. Now, if your situation is complex, a professional income tax provider can be a great resource. But if you file your own taxes and haven't heard yet about Wealth Simple Tax, now's a great time to check it out. Now, as a bookkeeper, I don't prepare income tax returns for other people, but I do prepare my own. And a few years ago, I thought I'd share how I do my own T2125. That's the Statement of Business Activities and Self-Employment Income. And there's a link for that down in the description. Now, I followed up with that on how I put that into Wealth Simple Tax, and I have a link to that in the description below too. Resource number 2. Just what are CRA's interest rates? Not paying CRA on time can be an expensive form of financing. How expensive? This blog post from GGFL discusses the recent rise in CRA interest rates, but it doesn't mention the late payment penalties or late filing penalties, so keep those in mind also. But they do mention that CRA interest and penalties from CRA are not a deductible business expense. It can reduce your bottom line, lose the money, but it doesn't reduce your taxes. Yikes, this is the worst of both worlds. You know my hashtag, never pay CRA more money than you have to. Resource number 3, bdc.ca. Now, I often highlight BDC's blog posts in my resources newsletter because they just have so much more meat in them than other business blogs I find. BDC is the Business Development Bank of Canada. They are a Crown corporation and they operate at arm's length from their sole shareholder, the Government of Canada. So, their raison d'être is to help Canadian businesses thrive. And this can be seen in the wealth of information on their website about running, starting, growing, and scaling all sizes and types of businesses in Canada. Here are 3 great places on their site for you to dig in deeper. So you can go to Start or Buy a Business. So this is just the basics. They also have the Entrepreneur's Toolkit. So you've got assessments, templates, guides, and more. And of course, we have the courses, the Entrepreneur's Learning Center, and all of these courses are free. What resources have you found that have helped you start, run, or grow your business? Feature it and a call out to your business in our next resources newsletter. Now let's give a rundown of what due dates are coming up in March. Now, March 31st falls on a Sunday in 2024. So any March 31st due dates that I'm going to be discussing, they're actually due on April 1st, 2024. There's a link in the description to CRA that discusses due dates falling on a weekend or a holiday. Now it's time to prep your March calendar. Hashtag Be That Business that is organized. Here are some March due dates that might affect your business. First, if you have employees, March 15th is the due date for your payroll source deductions relating to February's payroll. Next, if you have employees, then you are likely registered for Provincial Workplace Insurance, WSIB or WCB. WCB in some provinces is due monthly and on the 15th. Now, in Ontario, WSIB is due quarterly, and that's not due until April 30th. Next is one that might not be on your radar. March 15th is the first quarterly personal tax installment that is due. As a self-employed individual, no one is deducting income taxes from you. And because of this, If you had over $3,000 in personal income taxes payable on filing in the previous year, CRA would like you to pay installments on your personal income taxes for the next year. And March 15th is the due date for the next personal tax installment. I do have a link in the description for more information. Another one that's probably not applicable to a lot of people, but it's worth a mention, is the NR4s. Now, these are issued by Canadian payers who make payments to non-residents of Canada for income such as interest, dividends, rents, royalties, pensions, and acting services. These are due to be filed with CRA on or before March 31st. Now, there are a couple more fringe returns that may or may not apply to you, but are worth a mention. So if required, partnerships, except those made up of corporations or a combination of individuals, corporations, and trusts with different filing dates, must file a partnership information return before this March 31st. And the other fringe one is a T3 trust return. So these trust returns are also due on March 31st. In the home stretch now, on to your monthly corporate tax installment. Again, if your business is incorporated and owed greater than $3,000 in corporate income tax for the previous fiscal year, then it is required to pay installments for the next year on the last day of every single month. March 31st is the due date for your March corporate tax installment. Though there are no other standard items due at the end of this month, be aware that if your sales tax filing is monthly, February's GST, HST filing and remittance is due on March 31st. If your sales tax quarterly filing is on a different schedule because of a corporate fiscal year end date that is not standard, the GST, HST for the quarter December to February would also be due on March 31st. Also, if your corporate fiscal year end is September, your corporate tax return is due 6 months after your fiscal year end in March. If your corporate year end is January, the income tax payable is payable 2 or 3 months after the fiscal year end, either due at the end of March or the end of April, depending on your corporation. Check in with your accountant to find out more about your corporate tax due date specific to your corporation. And I have a link to more information on that in the description below. If you found this video useful, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. I'm also on Instagram at BeThatBusiness. You can tweet at me or X at me. I'm at NiftyNomi, and I'm also at NiftyNomi on Twitch and TikTok. And you can find resources and courses about running a Canadian business on my website, naomiwilkins.ca. The video today was recorded in beautiful Gananoque, Ontario. Thanks for watching, and get out there and be that business that thrives.